Hello, and welcome to the She Sells Weed podcast. You're joined by your host, Jax.
And Mindy, welcome.
Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're joined with a new guest. I'm going to let you do the introductions, Mindy.
We have Kimberly Cargile, so I'm going to do the intro because Kim is one of my favorite people in the entire world. She's my mentor, also one of my best friends, and I've learned so much from Kim throughout the years, so we're really excited to have her on our podcast. So just to fill you guys in a little bit on our guest. So Kim has been in the cannabis industry for almost 20 years and has done so many different things and played so many different roles as activist, educator, and a business leader. So her journey started with cannabis cultivation and manufacturing. For the past 17 years, she's been running around and driven by activism, though. So there's a lot of advocating, a lot of activism through those years. And throughout those years, Kim has been advocating at the local level, city council, the state level, and now the national level with kind of national advocacy for legalization on the federal side. And she's led over 100 government tours through her dispensaries, educating policymakers and helping shape our industry as well. She's dedicated to empowering women in the cannabis industry, mentoring over 18 women into leadership roles, me being one of them. And they operate 9 dispensaries, 2 farms, a shared manufacturing and distribution company, and a brand, Camilla.
That's right.
With no corporate backing, we've shown that women can achieve remarkable things with the collaboration and support of each other. And we are so excited to dive into Kim's journey and to introduce you all and have some insight into what makes it all go round. So thank you for being on our podcast, Kim.
Thanks for having me, people.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. We're very excited.
Very honored.
Yeah, you're obviously Mindy's favorite person, and just from what I've read about you, it's a pleasure to sit in a room with a lady of your caliber, to be honest with you. Like, as somebody who works very hard, there's not a lot of women that I can honestly say that makes me a little sweaty sitting next to you. No joke. I'm like, oh, okay, tighten it up, fix your collar, like, it's business now, you know. But I also appreciate the conversations we've had earlier. You're just a normal person like the rest of us. It's just you happened to get on a path that was remarkable at the time. I mean, like she said, 20 years ago, so that puts us at 2014. 2 years out from legalization. We're still in Prop 215. And where does that really start for you? I mean, obviously 20 years is...
it seems like it's been so much longer than that.
It has been. So I started in 2000. Well, I started selling weed in 1999. So 25 years ago.
Wow.
So,
up in Mindo, SoCal?
So in West Sac.
Oh, close. Close. Okay. Okay, cool.
And then started growing in 2003 in Humboldt County.
Nice. The southern area?
Yeah, southern area, northern area, all over the areas, all the areas.
Fun. Good, yeah. Well, there's a couple special pockets, I feel like, up there where it's like it's grown, and then other areas it's just not really found.
Well, back in the early 2000s, the DA up there basically said you could grow 1,000 plants without being convicted. So that was the place to be.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy.
999.
Yeah,
safe.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. It's so funny. We're down here in the valley talking about 100 plants, you know. You guys are up there with 1,000. Wow. Yeah. Okay. So that obviously put you into a place of, you know, finances and being able to do something with that. And how did that elevate for you? Like, what came after that?
Well, it really got me through college.
Okay.
So I really wanted to graduate college. And so growing helped me get through college. I didn't expect to dedicate my entire life to the industry. But you know, cannabis had been in my life all my life. Okay. It had affected my life on a very deep level. My dad was a Vietnam veteran.
Came back Veterans Day today. Thank him for his service.
Yes. Yeah. I should. He is staying with me right now.
Oh, he's still with us. Good.
It's a good reminder. Yeah. Good. And he came back, and he was a very introverted, possibly on the spectrum, highly intelligent, very high IQ person who used cannabis as to self-medicate. It's the way I see it now.
Yeah.
And he was arrested numerous times. And so that was, it really came to be a problem when him and my mother had a court battle over the children in the early 80s. And so that really came back to haunt him. He was denied all custodial and visitation rights to his children.
Wow.
So I was denied a father growing up because of cannabis.
Wow.
And
it's really terrible.
It was. It really deeply affected me. And on many levels to this day, you know, it affects your entire being.
Yeah, for sure. And it's such a weird place where we are now where it's like that would never happen. And it's really, this is like, these are the stories that are so important for people to remember is like, this was not always easy.
What
this has a lot
through
a lot of
years
hard
to even get to, for us to be able to have opportunities that we have today also.
Yeah. You know, that's one thing I was really supportive of in the Adult Use of Marijuana Act, Proposition 64, is that medical cannabis patients can no longer be denied access to their children.
Correct.
That's written into the law. And that was something I was a big advocate of and very thankful for because of the effect it had on me.
Yeah. And there's so many, you know, people that it improves your relationship with your children, being able to connect on a deeper level or, you know, use cannabis to de-stress so that you're not bringing all that stuff home with you or different things like that. And I absolutely agree. It should not affect families in that way.
No, and you know it's kind of funny because they took your dad away from weed, and all it did was push you into weed.
Yeah,
it didn't work.
I'll show you.
Yeah.
She's a rebel.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
an undercover rebel. If you didn't know, actually.
So was there a moment that you got to go reconnect with your dad, older, and bring him the weed you grew?
Yeah.
How was that? What was that
Well, I
experience like?
remember in the early 2000s, he came down and he was helping me trim because we were growing. And he was acting really weird. And I was like, what's up, Dad? What's wrong? He's like, Kimberly, they're going to bust in any minute through the door. They're going to take me away. You don't understand how I feel right now. And I was like, wow. Like everything that he had gone through, you know, all the trauma of being arrested and all of the years of the war on drugs had, you know, imprinted that into him, which was a completely different perspective than I have. You know, cannabis became legal medicinally in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
I was 16.
Yeah.
By the time I was 19, you know, it was practically legal for me to be selling weed.
Yeah.
And it was legal for me to be growing it. And so it was a very different perspective, and it really opened my eyes into how he was feeling and everything that he had been through. And
it lessens right through the generation. So you're second generation. Can you tell the story about how the cops took your weed and you got it back?
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
that was fun. So I started a dispensary. It was such a cool dispensary. It was a farmer's market.
Okay.
It's called Common Roots Farmer's Market. It was in South Sac. And it was a big warehouse. All the farmers would come and sell. The manufacturers would come. We had classes all day long.
Cool.
Like hash making, rolling classes, growing classes. You know, of course, we had all the holistic classes like yoga and meditation and art classes. But we were raided by Sacramento County Sheriff, and they took all of our cannabis. They took everything from them. I actually have the video. I'll show it to you sometime.
Oh, fun.
And I had been trained by Americans for Safe Access. I was actually a peer counselor for Americans for Safe Access, helping train other people.
That is an incredible group that nobody really hears about nowadays, and they did so much for cannabis.
So
I
much.
champion them still to this day.
They
did a
still
lot.
are.
For patients.
Yeah, for patients. I encourage people to join Americans for
Yeah.
Safe Access to help fight for patients.
Yeah,
'cause it's
they
still
do
going
more
on.
normals up there, but I feel like they do a little bit more tailored to the individual's medical needs of cannabis instead of just like the overall umbrella of legalization.
Yeah. So at that point, I had attended numerous raid trainings by Americans for Safe Access, and I was actually teaching them at that time. So I was prepared. when I was
How
at
funny, you were teaching people what to do and they got raided.
Yeah.
When it started, it
She's
was
like, okay, guys, 101 SOP. First,
yeah, we were trained
say
at the
nothing.
dispensary too in the handbook. You go
Oh.
through raid training just in case, because it was a thing that and it wasn't even really that long ago. When was this, like 2008, 2009, somewhere around there? And it was happening. Like people, Kim got raided.
Yeah.
Yeah, people were getting raided regularly. I used to carry around the signs, the protest signs in my car, because when a raid would happen, I would drive there. I would have all the signs. I would call all the volunteers. We had a whole network of people who would protest at raids. I was even at one federal raid all by myself as the first one that showed up, and I was out there with all the signs by myself, 6 a.m. You're like, is anyone going to show up?
Wow. Quite the soldier for it then. Dang, first on the line, man.
Yeah. I was ready.
Yeah.
So when I got the call, I was actually at the grocery store. And they were like, okay, we're being raided. And I was like, hey, I'm on my way. So I drove to the dispensary and went in and said, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Kimberly Cargile.
Yeah.
And I'll be recording this interaction. So I had a phone with, I think, either Americans for Safe Access or the lawyer on one end, and then my camera, and it was like a regular camera back then. I didn't have a cament phone, so it was a regular camera we had ready.
Yeah.
Ready
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
you want to record the raid, and I just went into full education mode, and I just started educating them as they were raiding us.
You're like, that's like your nervous default. You're like, did you know cannabis is good for?
Yeah, I did. I was like, and we have an endocannabinoid
info
system,
dumping.
and there are. I was like going on and on.
You're like, okay, lady, whatever.
Yeah. Or they like trigger like, that could help like my mom or like my dad or something.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, there's people in your family that are probably using it and they're afraid to speak up because, look at what you're doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is illegal. And I'm like, no, it's not. We're following the health and safety code. And he's like, what's the health and safety code? I'm at 113.113.62.5. And he like looked at me like I was crazy. And he's like, well, it's federally illegal. And I'm like, but you don't work for the federal government.
Yes. Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's so true. You work for the state of California, baby. No, that's great. Oh my gosh. Wow. What's the number one rule in a raid that you do?
Be quiet.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's always the rule.
Shut
up. Shut up. You don't even need to tell them anything.
Yes. When we started advocating, when I started, their medical cannabis patients only had 3 rights. The right to remain silent, the right to not consent to a search, and the right to a lawyer. We had no rights to our children, no rights to healthcare, no rights to education, no rights to housing, no rights to organ transplants. All the rights we've fought for over the last 20 years here in California, we didn't have those rights. Yeah. And so it was pretty easy to teach people there was rights. There really only had 3 of them at that point. So,
No. I remember the little cards that used to get passed out all the time of like, what to do if you got pulled over, And it's like, first thing, shut up.
Yes.
Ask for a lawyer. Yeah.
And I love that other people were educating other people also. And like, you were saying we would call up everybody and like they would come. Like it's super neat to see, like, because it was serious stuff. It was like people's lives, and like we're talking about police, we're talking about jail. Like it's a really scary
everything. All your finances. I mean, they could take away everything.
Yeah, I lost everything. I got raided. I went through bankruptcy. The store got shut down. Lost my house up in Humboldt. Everything.
Wow.
Lost it all.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that people don't realize that I've been, thinking about a lot lately is we were just talking about this earlier, how your whole life, like when you become an entrepreneur and like when you have a business and everything, it's debt. It's your whole life. So it's like you have to make it work. And it's a very stressful thing to go through at the same time, but it's the risk, right?
Yeah.
Like you take the risk, but it is like a real thing. Like you can, go the other way and like something will happen and you just gotta, understand on how to deal with that stress and then keep going and make it work. But
You gotta keep going. That's the key.
Yeah.
And
the ability to adapt to, what we just read all and have it back if you continue to put one foot in front of the other, and go over the rock and get the stick, do whatever you got to do to make it, So that's a very cool story. I like all that.
but you did, so.
I did get it back.
Yeah, sorry, let's go back to that. I'm like, that's such a good story. I'm like, that's killer. But no, you're right. So how did you get it back? So you reported, right?
So I got it back. We went to court. I had a few different lawyers volunteer to help me out because I didn't have any money, and wrote me letters. And we got all of the cannabis returned to us. We went down to the sheriff's station, took the news with us on Christmas Eve, 2011. I think it was.
I'm going to look up on the internet so we can find like a news clip. I'll throw it in here if I can find it.
And my lawyer looked just like Santa Claus. He had a long beard.
Love that.
Yeah, we went in, we got our weed. The cops followed us out. The news followed us out. The cops were like, "Where are you going now?" And we were like, "An undisclosed location." But we packaged.
They were so mad.
Oh yeah, they
So
were.
mad.
It wasn't good. We packaged it back up. This is pre-regulations. We shouldn't have done this now. Now that I think about it, you know. But we printed out a label with the Sacramento Sheriff's Department logo, and we had a huge party, and sold it as the sheriff's special.
Oh my God.
Yeah, to raise money to be able to reopen.
This is some rebel stuff. You could not get away with this nowadays. There's so much regulation now. They would.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Wow, what a rebel. That is great. That's cool, man.
And I love that, you know, from Kim's background, you come from like more the medical perspective.
Yeah.
And when we talk about culture, you know, there's different like parts of the culture, but the medical side, the compassion, the caring is the part that, you know, like you follow the journey that you follow. And I appreciate that because, you know, you want to connect with the right people. And so there's a very special thing that you do, you know, for a lot of people, and that's teaching and mentoring them, you know, on how to run businesses and how to, you know, understand the different parts of the business. So where did that come from, and, you know, why did you go into that world?
You know, it's really cool because there was no rule book for it, and I didn't have any idea that what was going to happen. But I knew that I wanted to go out to dinner someday, to a nice dinner, and I wanted my friends to go with me, and I wanted them to be able to pay for dinner. We'd all go to a fancy dinner. And that's what I imagined in my head.
Okay.
So a lot of the people that were fighting along beside me at the dispensaries over the years worked with me at a therapeutic alternative. So I got another opportunity, which I almost didn't take because I didn't think I was worthy. But
wow, isn't that funny? One pivotal moment could have changed it all.
Yeah.
Wow, good on you making the right decision.
So I have initially said no to being the owner and the CEO of a therapeutic alternative because I didn't think I was worthy.
Did somebody just offer that to you?
I did.
They're like, hey, would you like a dispensary?
Yes, it was offered to me. And I actually started out at that dispensary as a volunteer yoga instructor. Okay. And I also volunteered for ASA there. I was a grower, and I consulted there. Cool. But all volunteer. And then I was given that opportunity. And because I didn't have money to put in to start this business, restart it had been closed at that point, I didn't think I was worthy. So I woke up in the middle of the night, and I was like, who else knows how to run a dispensary, is going to, like, totally do so good in this community, really wants to help people. Like, I was just thinking about all the good things that I was bringing to the table, and I was like, I do have value. This is value. This is value. And so that opportunity that was given to me by some really wonderful people inspired me to do that for other people. And so I always said, you know, if you are smart and dedicated, motivated, creative, and you want to do this, and you're a nice person, then I want to be your partner. And so 25 of our employees from a therapeutic alternative have become owners over the last 5 years. 25 have gone through and become owners. All of the companies didn't get permitted. Some have been sold. All of them didn't work out particularly to get open. But many of them have. We now have 9 dispensaries. We've sold 2. We have
all in California.
Okay. Dispensary licenses are very hard.
Very hard to.
Well, I just talked to somebody yesterday. Sidebar. They were like, "Oh yeah, I just went and got a license in Stockton." And I was like, "You just went and got a license in Stockton?" They're like, "Yeah." And I was like, really? I'm like, I didn't realize they were just handing out licenses like that. I'm like, maybe I should go over there then. Because as far as I was concerned, it's very,
most of them
it's
are
very,
or
very difficult.
It's like you got to get them
Yeah.
when they first.
Yeah, we went through a little process over in a different city that they ended up picking all the bigger corporation ones. They didn't want the smaller business style model or whatever. But anyways, but yeah, so it's interesting. So that is like such a remarkable thing to do for so many people that I don't really think that I've heard of anybody really, you know, that's willing to like put energy into other people to really see them be successful. I mean, at least give them the platform to be successful without necessarily. It seems like everybody involved in that is very happy with where they sit in it. It's not like a oh yeah, like we're worth her, but man, it's tough. Like it's not that kind of thing. It's very like, oh my God, like, no, she's the real deal. She really just helped me get this. Like, I can't even explain to you any more than this is as genuine as it seems to be. And that is a really beautiful thing of a person that you are. And so I'm really blessed, like I said, that you're here on the show today, because this is exactly what we want to highlight of people in this industry that are willing to give the extra to other people, to uplift everybody around them and not just bring people down. So it's really very cool. It's very cool. What are the 9 clubs around? Can we name them?
Yes, we can. Thank you. So a therapeutic alternative is, you know, the mothership. And then we have Dixon Wellness, Davis Cannabis Collective, Napa Cannabis Collective, Chuck's Wellness, the Pocket Dispensary.
With Miss Mindy.
Tracy Cannabis Collective.
Okay.
We used to have Modesto Cannabis Collective and Riverbank Cannabis Collective.
Okay.
And our newest store opening, hopefully New Year's Eve, will be Woodland Cannabis Dispensary.
Oh, you guys got that license. Good for you. My little sister called me. I was like, do you know this group? And I was like, because she's a fire marshal over there. And so she was like, do you know who these people are? And I was like, no, but I'm sure I'll figure it out.
You got to call her.
Okay, cool. I'll let her know. I will.
People that are connected to Woodland, they're really excited. I hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait for the
Woodland. So
Woodland to be open.
So that's one thing I can speak on a little bit, is because I grew up in Yolo County. My mom lives in Woodland still, and Yolo County has always had a huge agricultural background. So there's always been weed growing out there, but there's always been the we don't need weed money kind of mentality, and therefore we don't really want to bring that culture into our community. And I think over the years, the community and culture has shifted a lot from cannabis to, hey, we're all doing it. We're tired of driving to Sacramento. We're tired of these deliveries. And like the town itself is finally coming around to it. And I'm really happy for that. Where is it going to be? Where do they put you guys?
Right across from Nugget on Court Street.
Oh my God, like right downtown?
Yeah.
Wow, Nugget's going to be in business at that. I love Nugget. Oh my God, do not take me into a Nugget grocery store. It's bad.
All your essentials.
It's bad.
Everything.
That's so cool. Very cool. I will have to go for your grand opening, because that's very, very, very cool. Okay, yeah, so wow, that's incredible, Kim. So where is your future then? Where are you doing now? I mean, obviously opening clubs, but is there anything else in the works?
Well, my goal in life is to get back to my roots. So I started as a scientist, and I actually studied cellular molecular biology and was pre-med.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I got into holistic medicine. I became a fitness trainer and then a yoga instructor, started studying herbalism, Reiki, and growing cannabis.
Nice.
And so I was researching it as medicine and found that it is a very effective medicine. And that's what really made me say, okay, I'm going to dedicate my life to this, is when I realized that it can help treat so many different symptoms specific to hundreds of illnesses and disorders. And it has a very low, a very high level of toxicity. Like you can't take enough to kill you. It's,
Yeah, it is really fascinating for it to be, I mean, a drug at the end of the day that does not have the same kind of consequences as other drugs. I mean, it's almost got the same consequence of drinking too much water. Like, I mean, it can make you sick, but you have to drink a lot of it to do that, you know, like more than I think anybody's even tried to consume. I mean,
a safe way, like a natural, you know, alternative to different things.
And
what do you
there's
think
so
that?
much
Why do you
there.
think that is? How, I mean,
Well, there's one main reason is because the cannabinoid receptors aren't in the brainstem, where like opioids work on the brainstem, they slow down the heart rate and the breathing, and so that's what kills people. And so cannabinoid receptors aren't there, and so we think that that's due to part of the high toxicity level.
interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Sorry, I'm like, that's interesting. It makes my mind
So,
like think.
I love the science, dude. I could
would,
sit and talk about
well,
the
please
science
do. I
all
mean,
day
I
long.
mean, we could always
love
talk
it.
about the industry, but it is
Yeah.
very fascinating. And if you know about it, then I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think there's many people we'll have on the show that can talk about the science of it. So,
Yeah.
So okay, if we can just touch on it just a little bit. So it's not connected to your brain stem. So other drugs like opiates and stuff, they're attached to that. So even though, like, what about the symptoms of people who take too much edibles and it does feel like they're not able to like move their bodies and stuff, like similar to
absolutely.
like an opiate, but
Yeah.
it's not attaching the same way. What's that about?
So we have an endocannabinoid system,
Right.
And that's made up of receptors on the on the outside of cells that cause different pharmacological effects on the body. Those receptors are throughout the entire body, mostly, almost the entire body, specifically in the central nervous system in the brain.
Okay.
And so it's the receptors that are in the brain that that affects people's, motor skills. It has to do with the pain, the mood, increasing or decreasing the appetite, nausea, a variety of different symptoms. Reasons why people use cannabis have to do with the receptors in the brain.
Okay. Interesting. That's
The brain is such a fascinating
It is.
organ in our body.
Oh, that is specifically what I want to study.
Yes.
So I recently was accepted to the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
Yes, it is.
Well, and it's beautiful because I know that you have helped so many different people find the right formula for what they need for very serious things.
Yeah.
Like, I don't... that information that you're getting and you're giving is, really changing people's lives in a very, very powerful way.
It is. It is. I love doing the one-on-one consultations with people, and I hope to, do more in the future when I, am able to, get my degree and do more teaching and more one-on-one consultation.
Yeah. What are you excited for during the class? And what are you most excited for learning?
Okay. So this is what I'm most excited for learning. The truth. Because 20 years ago, we had nothing on cannabis. I had to get books.
Yep.
So we got books. It was hard to even get the books on cannabis. So we got as many books as we can. We read as much as we could. Then the internet came up. And so there started to be all this information on cannabis. I think this is the direct reason, the root of the reason why cannabis has become so mainstream. I think it's the internet because people have been able to educate themselves on cannabis, which they couldn't do before.
It's easy to find.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that actually affects why all holistic medicine is on the rise, is due to the internet.
Yes.
Because previously we couldn't learn about these medicines unless there was a book in the library in our town that hopefully allowed that type of book that we could read about and
The
learn about.
herbs and the natural supplements. And
Yeah. I want to get back to the science. So this degree is in cannabis science and therapeutics. That is the degree that I'm getting, which is amazing that there is a high level cannabis degree.
Yeah.
It blows my mind, and I'm so thankful I was accepted. And what I'm excited to learn is the truth, because right now I'm doing a lot of research and taking these classes, and I'll go to WebMD and it'll have the wrong thing. And it's WebMD.
Yeah.
And it's not telling the truth about
believe-
cannabis.
Yeah, and that's what they
Well,
believe, like hands down, like the doctors.
It's like
and-
Wikipedia. You kind of have to be careful on both of them. They're kind of, I think they're like self-submitted, or I don't know where they come from, but they have like a weird way they get that data. It's not, it's definitely not official. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Dr. Google is not where you need to be. I promise you.
But I want to be able to teach our staff staff and our patients and the truth. And I actually plan to start a program at the community colleges here for cannabis.
Cool.
Yes. It's going to take me years. I got to talk to the dean and go through all the right channels, but I want to start a program for cannabis to get a certificate or even just take a class. Eventually an associate's, maybe someday we'll get bachelor's. I think that potential's there.
Yeah, I think University of Davis is already kind of doing a cultivation course over there that's becoming, which is really, really fascinating because, I mean, they're the leaders in agricultural education, so it's very fascinating.
It's awesome.
No, I think that's great. I think that is where the future of cannabis has to go as far as the medical side of things. I think recreationally, I think we've kind of tapped what we're going to get to for recreational, and the next level is like the high development of medicinal use. So my background's more on cultivation like you. I love growing plants, and I will get back to that someday, but I have like expressed to everybody, I have a very deep connection with it, and I want to grow plants, and I want it to get cheaper to grow plants to produce specific genetics that we've bred with the specific idea of really treating somebody, and it not just be this like kind of broad umbrella, but really like dial that in to where it's like at the best, it's a bud tender really could be like, oh, you have migraines? Here, this is the strain that was developed specially for migraines, and it has X amount of patient testing, and it's all kind of proven stuff, like Tylenol. Like maybe Tylenol doesn't work on everybody, but it works on most people. And I want to kind of get cannabis to that place on the medical side.
Yeah, it could be a different combination of the cannabinoids and the terpenes that pinpoint that place that you need to get to in order to help your specific. You
can figure out which pathway you can open for it. I think that's the really fun. So it's really exciting that you're working on that. I'm really excited to see what happens.
It's gonna happen.
No, I was talking with somebody else recently that they're doing a similar path that you're doing, and they were talking about the very same things you were saying, and it's so I'm like, okay, this is the new up and coming. So I'm trying to pay attention. I got Google alerts. Like I gotta know, I gotta stay on the topic. So that's very, very cool. Well, what do you have any advice maybe for young ladies kind of coming into the space now? I like to always kind of help the younger generation know how to navigate it. And is there, because it is so different than where we started, is there things that you're seeing now that like they could help accelerate their experience working in the cannabis space?
Well, one thing that I've learned is if it's not fun, it's not worth doing it.
Okay.
So my advice is to team up, find people of like mind that you have fun with, and work with them.
Okay.
And
find your people, find your tribe.
Yeah, find your people and invite other people in.
Have to make that a t-shirt, Mindy. We say it a lot.
I think that's been like my personal success has been in teams.
Okay.
And success as well as happiness. Like we love working together. We'll work at the beach. We'll work at the spa. We'll work in the office. We'll work in the field. Yeah. We'll scrub the building. We'll paint. We'll do whatever. Like the full spectrum of life is there in our work because we've just decided that if it's not fun, we don't want to do it.
There's no point in doing it.
I mean, it's a beautiful thing, the support that's there, because that's what you need to get through. And so, like, the love, like, we've been working together for 5 years. It's like we love each other, like, genuinely, and like, it helps it, and it's not really working. It's your life, and I think that's the interesting thing about cannabis is that everything is wrapped in together. There is no separation. Like, this is who you are. This is your life. Like, you don't separate work from not. Like, the people that you do business with are your friends, and that energy that comes from that. It makes it possible to do like the hard things, because there is those obstacles that come up. And those things that you have to deal with. And we're just like, all right, okay, like, what do we need to do to solve this? Like, let's find the solution. And it's way easier to do that with really happy, smart people.
It's like that old song. It's like smiley, happy people. Is that like Depeche Mode or something? I agree with that. I think positive attitudes makes a big difference. Nobody wants to work with a grumpy Gus, you know what I mean? So you got to stay positive. And the positivity through the hard stuff is really what shows your character, I think. It's easy to be happy when everything's good and sunny and rainbows. But when you're getting rated, can you do it with a smile on your face?
Yeah. Think of the bigger picture.
Yeah. It's like creativity that comes through.
Yeah.
we were talking about earlier. It's like, you're creating your business as you go, right? You don't have to follow the rules of what other people are doing because then it doesn't align with what you're naturally good at. So like finding your talents, finding the things that you're good at is going to help you understand in your team what role you need to play and like how to find those other members of that team that are excel at what they're good at. You don't want to put somebody and force them, even though they want to really, really bad.
Yeah. That's always been so bad. I've seen that happen so many times where somebody really wants something, but they're just not the right person for it. And if they get it, it always it's just bad for everybody because in the end they wind up in a really bad place. The company might fall behind. The staff might have a hard time. Like there's so many factors that can be bad for that. And it's just not good for anybody. In the moment they're like, yeah, it's a raise, it's a promotion, it's all this. And it's like, yeah, but you're going to be miserable in 6 months and everything's going to fall apart. And it's better for you to not do that and wait for what is right for you. Be patient with it. I definitely agree with that. That's 100%. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, patience is a virtue, and it's needed in this industry because it takes a long time to become successful. It is not there is no green rush. Like if people want to get in the industry, I'm like, do you really want to? Like it is so hard and so difficult. It's so fun. But it's so difficult.
I think it's fun for us who like challenge. Like you like obstacles probably. You like solving problems. I love solving problems. I love it when I come to work and, I run this dispensary and it's like I come into work and there's like issues. I'm like, oh, good. Something to solve. Perfect. Like I will have a productive day. The mundane does not work for me. And I think that is something I also tell everybody who comes into my lovely store and is like, how do I get into cannabis? I'm like, go be a bud tender. First. That's what I always tell people. I'm like, just go be a bud tender for 6 months. And if you like that at all, then you go do cannabis. But if you were like, that is not for me, because even dispensary retailers are moving on the fly. I mean, there is no set SOP. As much as they want to believe that they got an SOP submitted, like there is no SOP. Things happen all the time. Changes happen, and you got to be ready to deal with that. And on a manufacturing level or a cultivation level, those errors are really big and they're really even more stressful. Because I mean, I've been in a manufacturing place where they're like, the stickers came in and they're wrong. They put the wrong letter on there. And everybody's like, what? Like, what do you mean? And like, yeah. So we have to take off all the stickers now and put new stickers on. So, and that's really stressful on your team. Yeah. It's stressful as a manager, obviously, because it's like frustrating, but on your team and the people that are working with you, who are not managers, but they're just average employees, like that's really stressful on them. So you got to be able to be a good leader with your team, like you were saying, because people will not stick with you if you're not, treating them right in the really hard, stressful situations.
Yeah, so. I agree. Or if you think you're better than them. That's what I find a lot, where people think they're better than their employees. And I'm always like, what the hell? Yeah. Like, you make mistakes too?
Yeah, I think it's just a different role. I don't really look at it as like the higher positions. Personally, I don't think people should either, is that it's just a different job. That's all
totally.
It is.
Exactly.
It's not that you get to trump them or not. And that's proven with HR and upper management who could come in and cut you out faster than what you could even believe. But I think that's a big part of something I see slightly lacking in the industry a little bit is management. And I don't know how that could be fixed necessarily, other than like, there has to be some sort of training or something that happens, but management in cannabis is really lacking. And I hear a lot of people be upset about working for people. Like they love the job, but they couldn't stand the people, like, or they couldn't stand that manager. And it was really hard. Yeah. Or owners overstepping boundaries. Like they're not letting the managers do their jobs. And I think that's a really kind of big issue in the industry that I see day to day.
Out of our society, we have a hierarchical society. And so often these managers have been managers somewhere else, and they were taught to manage that way, right?
Yeah, I guess that is the old guard of management, huh? Like, you're the boss. Yeah, I remember when I got first taught to be a buyer for the club, they told me to, like, basically be mean to, like, the sales reps, and, like, you don't have to talk to them, and, like, this whole, like, stuck-up thing. And I was like, that's kind of rude. I was like, these people have come all the way out here. I can at least come out and tell them I'm not interested, or, like, have a brief conversation. So I never turn anybody away. I'm always, unless it's something I really don't want, then I'm just like, bro, like, I'm not interested, you know, but at least tell them that. Like, I hear horror stories of people that leave people out in their lobbies for 4 hours. I'll be right there. I'll be right there. And they never go out. And I'm like, dude, like that, you're making us look bad.
I get feedback all the time. Like, Jax is a really good buyer just because of the connection. It's the connection. But I have learned, so this is what I learned from Kim and like through the incubator was the heart-centered business model. So you, instead of hierarchy, it's stewardship. So understanding the process or the role that people play. And it's like you're taking ownership of that role and you're a very important part instead of like, it's like this, you know? So like getting the feedback, understanding and working together to find solutions in that space is like stewardship versus, you know, just kind of getting at people and being like, well, you have to do this, and because you don't understand it from their perspective because they do the job every single day. It's like, you're the one here. So
for real,
we'll work together to figure this out, you know, and everything, but you're valuable, you know, and like this is really important. And that's something that, you know, Kim had taught at the at the incubator.
I would have to say, so I've shopped at a therapeutic alternative for a long time. I mean, that's always been the club that I was gravitated to because of the medical side of things. That's really where my heart is. I love helping people. That's what I do here every day. It's like I'll come out and give people full consultations for free. And I'm happy to see them feel better, you know. But Richard, who's worked there forever, and then a neighborhood friend of mine, Skyla, used to work for you, or whoever was the management at that time. I think it was you. I think you were her boss at the time, because she told me, she's like, I love Mindy. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you do remember her. Then she's like, oh yeah, she's the best, you know. I was like, cool. I was like, well, I'm starting a podcast with her, you know, all this stuff. I was sharing it all with all my friends and everything. And so it's like therapeutic alternative, I think, is, for me, as far as I'm concerned, is that it's always been like a pillar of the example of what a medical club is supposed to look like, right? Like, you have your employees wear scrubs. There's definitely a much more like calm down, quiet atmosphere when you walk in there. I mean, it's an old building kind of like this, where it's like you kind of come in, it's like, shh, you're in an antique store. We're not yelling in here, you know. There's little water fountains. It's very relaxing when you walk in there. And I have always appreciated that, you know, from your therapeutic alternative. And so thank you for providing that for so many years to Sacramento and giving people like myself like a place to know that, like, if I need to get that answered or I need a certain product, like, you guys always had it, you know? So, yeah. I sent many people to you so many times because you guys carried the ABX vape carts first. And they were the only people to have them. And I remember when those first came out and people were like, what's this thing? You can get high with a pen, you know? I was like, yeah, you got to go to this club and get it, you know? And that was back when they were still dark oil. Jesus. But
CO2.
Yeah. Hey, CO2. I actually like CO2. We can get into that topic another day. But I have old raw CO2 oil from 2014 that still has terps today. Wow. I think that there is something unique about the way CO2 extracts cannabis that's very different than all the other solvents. And I don't know if it's because it's a controlled dissolvability or if it brings more plant waxes, but it does, like, kind of how rosin cold cure has that like glossiness to it, where it almost is like protecting the hash in a way. CO2 got like that for me after a long time of it just sitting. It gets like this gloss on it, and it's like, I think that that's like, it's protecting its own oil, but I can still pull it out today and dab it and it still has terps. It's crazy. Like,
that's something that we're right now learning, right? Like the longevity of things and like how it preserves naturally in its state.
Yeah, so I think that's why the conversation. Yeah. So CO2 is very fascinating. It's also how we get every flavor that you've ever tried, and it's how Coca-Cola can get the Coke flavor out of coca leaves without pulling out the part that gets you high, basically. So like our DA imports like trillions of tons of coca leaves from Colombia for Coca-Cola just so that they can get that flavor. It's crazy. But no, I learned about CO2 because I was able to buy a tabletop CO2 machine years ago, and it was full supercritical tabletop machine, and you could run QP at a time, and I got to learn CO2 extraction that way. I'm basic, you know, I'm not a scientist by any lab, but CO2 is always fun. Anyways, I'm rambling. But yeah, so thank you for a therapeutic alternative. I really appreciate that because it's really been an amazing club over all the years, and I'm glad that you took it because I don't think anybody else could have done it the way you did it. So
Thank you.
Anyways, well, is there anything else, ladies, that we would like to share with our beautiful audience? Any tips or tricks? Anything you would like to share, Kim?
No, I just think that, if people are, I just want to encourage those that are in the industry. It's been a long, hard road.
Yep.
We've seen the corporate interests take over.
Yep.
And it's not going to get any better.
Nope.
So I just want to encourage the people that are still in the industry to stay strong, because it's really, it's a lot of fun, but it's extremely hard to survive in this industry. It takes a ton of creativity and motivation and self-determination, patience. And so I just want to encourage those ladies to keep going, and just, encourage them to reach out to one another, to each other, and to, link arms and rise together, because we can, and we will. And I think that that's really important to just remember that you have, you have allies.
Yeah.
And
you can
just reach out.
Yeah.
Learn so much from each other, and I'm so glad that you were able to come on so that everybody else can learn
I agree
about you, and so much that we can get into. Like, I'm like, oh,
I know.
we'll
We'll have to
talk deeper about like,
well, after
the
she gets her
science and the
degree,
brain
yeah,
and
we'll have to go there.
Yeah, the education piece. So I love that, and thanks for everybody for tuning in.
I did want to ask Kim, is there a way that anybody, if they wanted to reach out to you in any capacity, is there somewhere that they could, get in contact with you?
Yeah, Facebook's probably the easiest place.
Just search up your name?
Kimberly Cargile Cannabis, or just Google Kimberly Cargile Cannabis.
Okay, cool.
Contact information will show up there.
Perfect. Okay, well, Mindy, would you like to close us out today?
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. And we'll see you on the next podcast, She Sells Weed. I hope you have a great day.
Bye.